Hello, my name is Keith, aka LoLByTheNumbers, and welcome to another 2014 League of Legends World Championship video analysis. Once again, this is a video analysis, not a shoutcast, so there will be plenty of spoilers throughout the match. I'll be looking primarily at team compositions, their win conditions, and how teams do, don't, and should be playing their team compositions to win the game in their favor. I'll also be taking a look at map rotations, objective control, occasionally how to break turret lines. I'll also be looking at individual matchups, item choices, and the occasional individual play when these things are paramount to the win or loss of a team. For this match, we have Cloud9 versus Samsung Blue. This is their second match in their best of 5 series for the quarterfinals. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into picks and bans. In this match, first off, we see Yasuo, Lee Sin, and Ryze being banned out by Cloud9. I don't really agree with this Ryze ban, particularly because I don't like Zed first pick. And as if you watch some of my other videos, I don't really like Zed in the World Championship meta. On Samsung Blue side, we see Zillion, Alistar, Lucian. Standard bans by Samsung Blue in the first two, as well as a target ban at how well Sneaky did. This is not a big deal, as this still leaves Corki up for Cloud9, as well as Graves, which we'll see in the next game or two from them as well. So they have a lot of choices. This isn't too big of a ban against Cloud9, but definitely targeted at how well Sneaky did. Going back to Cloud9's first pick and ban, I don't like this Ryze pick. I think they should have left it open. Balls could have got it as a first pick again. Otherwise, he still has Rumble and Maokai in his pockets. He has plenty of choices on what to do in this situation. This is also, since they are putting so much focus onto this Zed pick, they're sort of giving all the choices of these champions to Samsung Blue. One of the big things is, since they are banning Lee Sin, I really think they should have left the Lee Sin ban for Samsung Blue's side. Make them use this ban somewhere. This would open up Zillion, Lucian, Alistar, as well as, if they didn't ban it, now Cloud9 at least have guaranteed that the jungle matchup is going to go Kha'Zix versus Lee Sin. Because they end up banning Lee Sin, they essentially denied Meteos a strong jungler because they first picked this Zed. I really feel that Cloud9 misplayed this pick and ban phase and should have picked up this Kha'Zix for their first pick. Would have once again secured them a very strong jungler, someone who Meteos is very comfortable on, someone who fits almost every team composition, as well as being the second best jungler, or one of the two best junglers, really, because he's on par with Lee Sin, that are a significant tier ahead of every other jungler. So we will see him end up with the Elise for this, and I don't necessarily like Elise in this composition either, but that's because of this Zed pick. So going back to this first pick, if Cloud9 had taken Kha'Zix as their first pick, then they could have saw more of what Samsung Blue planned to do before picking up this Zed. I don't think Zed was necessarily going to be a huge contested pick. Even if it was, you also have Syndra up, which would have been a much better pick for High. I think he plays way better on Syndra, as well as Syndra providing more in the situation. On top of this, Syndra would have gone much better with Elise instead of Zed Elise. So very unfortunate. I don't like it. I don't like the Ryze ban. They just should have left it open and taken out, particularly this Twitch, maybe this Twisted Fate if they had thought about it before, knocked out Jace, or something else. I don't think the Ryze one was necessary. Anyways, enough about that. I might get into it again later. It's really an important point, I think, in terms of creating the right type of composition. And it ends up sort of biting Cloud9 in their own back. So for Samsung Blue, we'll go over it real quick. We see Thresh and Kha'Zix picked up two very solid picks. This secures one of the best jungler open at the moment, as well as a very strong support. On Cloud9 side, now we see Corki Maokai being picked up. Cloud9 is taking away that strong top laner that Samsung Blue like to play. This is going to force him once again onto, say, that Nidalee or the Lulu. In this situation, I will have to retract my statement from the previous game a little bit, as we see Acorn playing Rumble. And this is only the second time we see it in Worlds, even though it had been up many other games. So he does play it, not necessarily his first choice. I do like the Maokai pick, taking it away from him. This is a very solid start, especially Corki Maokai offers a lot of mid-game power, having that solid tank with the great poke damage and burst potential of Corki. Samsung Blue side, we see Rumble Twitch being picked up as well on their second rotation, counter-picking the top lane. We know Rumble is good against Maokai. One thing I always like to say is I feel Maokai should be picking up a Negatron Cloak before he grabs his Rod of Ages. That way he can fight evenly in this top lane. It's only a 720 gold investment for more magic resist than Rumble's 2 core items, which is Haunting Guy's Sork Boots for close to 2600 gold for that 30 magic pen. So Maokai can completely counter Rumble's build with a much cheaper purpose for like a third, almost a fourth of the cost. And while it does slow down that Rod of Ages a little bit, it's not that huge of a deal. And there will be one point where I'll mention this again in the game when we see a fight happen between Maokai and Rumble in the 1v1. So, solid pick. Twitch pick, I liked the fact that the Twitch pick from Samsung Blue, it's something that a lot of regions outside of North America and Europe play. The non-LCS teams, the OG and the LPL, all of them like this Twitch, and it's shown up very strong at Worlds. It has great late game potential, so there's good things there for Samsung Blue, and it offers pick potential and assassination potential, which is going to go very well with this Twisted Fate and Thresh. While it still gets bullied out, and we will see it very bullied out in this lane, it at least is able to offer something to the game a lot sooner than Tristana does. As soon as he gets the Blade of the Rune King, he is viable, whereas Tristana needs those 2.5 items to really come into her own. So this is a much better pick this time around in this Twitch. Then on C9's side, we see Elise and Morgana picked up as the final choices. I like both of these picks. I don't like Elise in a lot of compositions. She's sort of underpowered in the World Championship. Even now in the 420 patch, the preseason, she's a lot weaker as well. She doesn't offer her team enough in the late game to really warrant her being picked. That being said, there are a couple compositions where she is extremely strong in, and that's when your team has the ability to go fishing. When you have multiple long-range CCs looking to catch somebody out. Champions that go great with her: Thresh, Morgana, Ryze goes well, Ahri, Syndra, even to a little bit better extent, Xerath. You want these champions who can get damage from long range, who can throw out multiple CCs to limit the options for the other team to dodge, and as well as soon as one hits, you can chain them. Which essentially happens is, as soon as you hit one of these CCs, you've taken one member of the other team out of the fight before it even begins, because they can no longer even participate because they're stunned or snared for a good 7 seconds or something, if the chain is perfect at least. So this is what I like Elise in. I'm a little disheartened by the fact that this Zed is picked up. If it had instead been a Syndra, all of a sudden now we have 3 very long-range CCs that Cloud9 can go fishing with, and when they siege a turret, they just or look for a dragon control or whatever, they can just constantly toss these out and wait for one of them to hit. Great for finding picks and rotational play, just great all around without having to go in for that all-in I'm going to die situation. So I don't necessarily like Elise right here. I feel that because she doesn't have at least 2 solid other CCs to rely on, it would be better for Cloud9 to pick up a different jungler. Jarvan, Pantheon, as we've seen Rammus, all of these would have been better choices. With the best choice simply have been for them to have grabbed Kha'Zix and not banned Lee Sin. Cloud9 is just putting too much priority onto this Zed pick. So, last pick from Samsung Blue ends up being Twisted Fate. And this is an interesting choice because Twisted Fate has a hard time against Zed. Once level 6 hits, he's really in a lot of trouble. Zed can and should be able to bully him out of lane at this point. While before level 6 it's a little tough. Zed can still, teleport to his shadows anytime Twisted Fate uses his stunt card. As soon as his card is thrown out, Zed should throw his shadow out, teleport to the shadow, start attacking Twisted Fate. Go for that all-in trade damage. This can be done as early as level 2, level 3. Zed has a lot more power than Twisted Fate in this lane. Zed should also be going for that all-in with his ultimate every single time it's up against Twisted Fate. Try to keep Twisted Fate down as much as possible. Keep him out of lane, get that turret quickly, move on to the next one. However, what Twisted Fate does allow is for plays to be made around the map. And there's a lot of choices for this Twisted Fate. In fact, there's one in every lane. The hardest one is going to be against this Morgana, but we'll see Twisted Fate pull it off very well at one point in time. If Samsung Blue can use him right, they can get lots of picks and snowball. There's a lot of mid-game power here. So this is a pick and ban phase, a little extended this time, particularly because I don't feel Cloud9 played it right when they had all the opportunity to play it right. They had the choices for solid top lane, not needing to ban that Ryze. They could have gone for that guaranteed jungler if they weren't going to first pick Kha'Zix. There was plenty of opportunity for lots of choices to be left open, where the only high priority champion needed to be Kha'Zix in this situation. That or potentially Corki, but Sneaky has Graves in his back pocket, as we see in the next game, or the game after one of them. So we don't need to worry too much. They didn't need to worry too much about the ADC pick. So let's talk about team compositions. We'll talk about Samsung Blue's side first. Samsung Blue are running a very sort of pick-heavy, find skirmishes, find assassination attempt compositions. It's really, a lot of this is going to rely around Twisted Fate. Samsung Blue are just going to want to survive, sit in their lanes, and get to level 6 with Twisted Fate. Make plays in top and bottom lane with Twisted Fate. Snowball a lane that way. Then they're going to want to wait to the second point where Rumble reaches Haunting Guys and Sword Boots. This is the time when Samsung Blue can make a move hit to Dragon. Use the power spike of Rumble to take an early Dragon, one of the somewhere between the minute 12 to 13. And then after that, you'll hit a third power spike in Twitch, picking up his Blade of the Rune King. At that point, you're going to want to look for assassination attempts, especially using Twitch and Twisted Fate. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for Destiny plus Twitch Stealth to catch a target of C9 out of position, to find them in a place where they can quickly kill him and then escape. They can continue to do this over and over again. Wait till when they have the numbers advantage, they can push turrets. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on neutral objectives, the jungle buffs of both sides. And essentially, if this is possible, then Samsung Blue can snowball the game from there. Every time Twisted Fate's ultimate is up, make a play. Continue to get Twitch into this point, and slowly scale past Cloud9 through gold leads. Twitch may consider getting an early Quicksilver Sash. That way he can be the one who deals with Zed in the split push. But this is essentially their team composition and their win condition. Use the 3 early power spikes that Samsung Blue has. Twisted Fate Ultimate, the Rumble, Haunting Guys, Sword Boots issue area, and then the Twitch assassination potential. This dragon attempt by C9 kind of didn't respect Twisted Fate. Even though they had just killed Twisted Fate, they weren't on the dragon instantaneously, and they weren't fast enough because of the low death timer of Twisted Fate. He was able to ghost to get into position, and then use his ultimate to deny that dragon potential from C9. The other big thing was Rumble getting there, forced Cloud9 off. If Rumble hadn't gotten off that TP, perhaps Twisted Fate wouldn't have gone in with his ultimate. Maokai could have flashed to stop it. It was very close. I think they'll end up showing a replay of it. Let's see. So it was good of Cloud9 to get the first blood. A little slow on moving to Dragon and making that decision, and it ends up costing them both a kill and the Dragon. So let's talk about Cloud9's team composition. Cloud9's team composition is a little bit disenergized, and as said before, it's essentially in this Zed pick. But what they do end up is with a pretty decent 1-4 split push situation. If they can get Zed ahead, then there's nobody on Samsung Blue's team that can really deal with him. He should be able to 1v1 anyone on Samsung Blue's team, especially if he could generate a small lead, even if it's a small one. His biggest worries are going to have to be the Twitch coming in for the 2v1, and he's really going to have to have solid warding and the rest of the team good positioning on the map to make sure that this doesn't happen. One thing that I also do want to note about Cloud9's 1-4 is they have a very strong 4-man team in the form of Corki and Maokai. These two champions are great together. One, because Maokai provides great peel against an engage, great protection, enough damage reduction through his ultimate to generally prevent assassinations. Corki is also able to escape very well. He has great wave clear and poke. Without this necessary solid engage of Samsung Blue, C9's 4-man squad should be able to win. They just need to really watch out for Corki. With Morgana, anytime they are up at the turret, Morgana can black shield Corki. Corki goes in, gets 1 or 2 shots, especially with his Trinity Force, and that's how they whittle down turrets as the 4-man squad. While this whole situation is happening, Zed is creating pressure on other sides of the map. Samsung Blue will be forced to react with a 5v4, allowing Zed to take an objective, or send 2 people to deal with Zed, allowing the 4-man squad of Cloud9 to take their own objective. Lucky for Cloud9, the Elise and Morgana kind of work together in the situation. If either one of them are able to line a binding or a cocoon, Corki can follow it up with phosphorus bomb and missiles. You get some decent poke. While this isn't the deadly kill potential, if you say had an Ahri in the mid lane as well, it's enough damage to threaten Samsung Blue's team. And if you land it twice on the same target, you've probably killed them or forced them out of lane. So this is where Cloud9's team composition will shine in the 1-4 split push. This does mean they need to get Zed ahead. They're going to have to be very wary of 5-man fights, especially against this Rumble. This means that second Dragon, or at this point in the game where you can see right now, where Rumble has his 2-item spike, this is where Cloud9 probably really have to worry about Dragon fights, and they should be looking to take other objectives on the map when it comes up. And here we see how strong Corki can be against these non-mid-game focused champions. And this is why the 4-man squad of Cloud9 would be much stronger than Samsung Blue's, and why they should transition into it fairly quickly. Essentially, after this turret goes down, they're going to take the mid turret as well. Cloud9 should probably look to push that top turret when this dragon comes up. Let this dragon go. It's going to be very difficult for you to fight for this dragon, particularly with this Rumble who's got his 2 items, who's getting close to level 11. It's a major power spike if he reaches level 11. And while you do have the power in Corki at this moment, it's not necessarily enough, especially if he ends up getting hit by Twisted Fate or Thresh. We'll have to get a look at Morgana's build. I want to see whether or not she's grabbing Black Shield second as her primary skill, or Tormented Soil. And it's really sort of a pick and choose situation. You want to look at the team compositions, know how much of a shield you need to block out CC. In this case, I would like to see Black Shield being maxed second. You're really going to have to be able to have your Black Shield survive Twisted Fate's wild cards. That way you can block the stun from pick a card. This is doubly affected too by having to survive through the Rumble ultimate before getting stunned, as well as surviving through a Thresh hook if that happens first. There's a lot of incidental magic damage that Black Shield is going to need to survive through if Morgana wants it to be really effective in this match. So that would be my suggestion, is that she maxes it second due to the team composition of Samsung Blue. But as we see this dragon coming up, I don't think Cloud9 should be fighting for this. As said before, Rumble has his 2-item spike. Maokai doesn't have a Negatron cloak. It's a very dangerous situation. What Cloud9 could have done previous to setting up for this is having sent 4-man top and gone for this outer turret on the top lane, potentially even gone for the inner tier 2 turret if they had been sneaky enough and quick enough on it. They could have left Meteos. They could have left Meteos on Elise and Zed in the mid and bottom lane to sort of delay Samsung Blue while Maokai, Corki, and Morgana go and fight and take this top lane. Corki provides all the wave clear you need, and while you would like the damage from Elise, you can probably get away with taking the top tier, maybe the top tier turret. It's a judgment of who is, how much of a distraction the 2-man squad of C9 would be providing to delay the dragon take. Instead, we do see C9 fighting for it. They end up going a little deep on Zed. Once again, we see exhaust being huge against Zed. High goes deep, ends up dying when there was really no need for C9 to do that. They had gotten the poke with Corgi, they had pushed Kha'Zix out. Yes, High wanted to go get that kill, but it's a little bit of an over-aggressive play. They could have just backed off and looked for Dragon. Balls had already stopped the teleport from Rumble. This means C9 now have the teleport advantage. Even though High does die, C9 are able to get it, and they could have done it without the death, is all I'm saying. On that note, I put in my notes, and I still think, why do we never see Zeds picking up Cleanse as a summoner skill? Cleanse would be really strong for Zed. There's so many times where we see CC and Exhaust being used against Zed to great effect and completely shutting him down. In some games we even see the teams running 2 Exhausts against a Zed or against a Fizz. I think it would benefit Zed a whole lot more if he picked up Exhaust than Ignite in some situations, as it would help prevent him from getting extremely shut down. This would allow him to be able to get that damage and then return to his ultimate Shadow. A lot of times he's just dying in CC before he can escape. So I think it would be great in terms of both offense and defense, and it should have been considered by a lot of the Zeds in this World Championship tournament and in future play when he becomes popular again. Going back to the top lane, we saw Wind Balls flashed in to stop Acorn's teleport. Worked out well, but Maokai was losing out on that fight. He had to run when Rumble went after him and lost his flash when he was escaping. This is because he didn't have the Negatron cloak and instead had the Rod of Ages. But this is it worked out. We didn't see him actually dying, so it is a bit of a choice playstyle preference. I think it allows you to be more of a bully, more guaranteed survival up top. As well as, even in the team fights, now you have this Negatron Cloak to work against this double AP team of Twisted Fate and Rumble, so it's even a little better in the team fights. It's some more earlier takey stats while sacrificing maybe 2 or 3 minutes on your Rod of Ages. I want to talk a little bit real quick on the item choice by Elise, by Meteos, getting this Spectral Wraith. I do like this pickup in this situation as opposed to the Ancient Golem or going more tanky. Samsung Blue. Well, I don't know if this is situation. One sec. I like the pickup because C9, they want that upfront damage to help Zed get that assassinate. They want the objective control. It's going to do better in a poke situation with the 4-man squad. C9's 4-man squad doesn't want to fight. If Rumble's in the area, they just want to back off, get away, don't engage. They don't need Elise as this sort of tank because they shouldn't be fighting these 5v5 fights. If C9 are ever fighting 5v5 fights, then they should be very ahead. Instead, they want to rely on the split push and then disengage and poke with the 4-man squad. So this Spirit of the Spectral Wraith allows Elise to farm better, allows her to poke better. And so it's a little bit of a better choice, I think. The other alternative would have been, instead of grabbing that, to grab an early Locket of the Island Solari if C9 wanted the team fight. And as we do see, they do team fight a lot. So a little bit of the right and the wrong choice at the same time. More of the right choice if they had played the composition a little better. More of the wrong choice in the way they decided to play the match. And here's where we see a great thing about Corki against this Twitch. Corki's able to throw out a lot of rockets to attempt to find Twitch. You start to read the other team and their movements on when they want to engage, when it's this big teams. Throw out Corki rockets and see if you can find that invisible rat. Then you can hit him with a Phosphorus Bomb and reveal him. Other than that, he's able to just escape well through Valkyrie. So in the 4-man squad, it's very safe. And here we see a little bit of a disjointed play. The analysts talk about this one. Balls didn't need to go in at all. High had the kill. But this is one of the problems I find with Zed is all in, and it's very easy to bait him out, and that's what Samsung Blue did with this Twitch. Yes, High was able to get the kill, but it cost him his life. If High was playing Syndra, all of a sudden as soon as Twitch popped out, he could have thrown out Q, stun, ult, and then you have either killed Twitch or taken them out of the fight without having to go all in. It just offers so much more, and I wish High had picked Syndra instead of Zed in this match. And here we'll see again exactly, he's got the kill, he goes back, and it's just a great bait by Samsung Blue. They're the ones ready with the full team. Zed ever goes in without his full team, which is what Zed essentially wants to do. He wants to go that assassin, and he wants to fight, the duels instead of the team fight. So when you see that opportunity, you go for it. But in this case, it was a bait. It cost him a lot of kills and the turret. And here we're going to see another situation in which Zed goes in and ends up doing nothing. And this is a huge portion of exhaust. If you look at Twitch's HP, he's at about 1/3. And that's entirely through exhaust. If Zed had had cleanse, potentially he could have killed this Twitch. And while it still would have ended with Cloud9 losing the fight, they would have gotten another kill. I just think it would make Zed more useful to be picking up cleanse instead of this ignite. And just to note, Zed's Ignite was not up for this, so that has nothing to do with Twitch's HP in this situation. If he had had Ignite up, Twitch still would have been alive. Wouldn't have been quite enough. I really think getting rid of that 50% damage slow and the 30% reduction, 35% damage reduction would be much better for Zed. So as we're looking at this game, what have Cloud9 done wrong? Because they've certainly done quite a few things wrong in this match. First and foremost, I've already mentioned a lot the pick and ban phase. I also think they played with this Zed wrong. They have yet to run the 1-4 split push, and which is something they really should have done. I really probably would have liked to have seen Zed maybe pick up an early Hex Drinker even to go into this split push role where he knows he's going to be fighting Rumble or Twisted Fate. Somewhere where he knows he can be strong. The Blade of the Rune King is fine. Zed's build is fine. There's no real problems with it, but a Hex Drinker might have been better for the split push situation where he can go continue to be a nuisance with a little bit more safety. We see once again how strong Corki is against Twitch. He's much stronger. You know, he just makes that squad better overall. We see this fight goes really well for Cloud9, and this is one of the first fights where they have their full team together and where Maokai is initiating it. And this is a 5v4. Cloud9, this is the rotational play that Cloud9 need to be making with Zed, and they should have made it a while ago. This is something that's actually typical of Cloud9, especially in this World Championship that we see, is they don't move into their crazy strategic play until it's sort of too late. They're already behind, they're losing out, and now is when Zed split pushes. Instead of doing this rotational map play when they're on even footing, they're always doing it from behind. And there's a good thing to this. It's the fact that Cloud9 make these strategic plays when they're behind. They don't, fall over dead and just wait to die. They are looking to make these plays and are looking to essentially find a comeback. And they do. Once again, we see High on Zed pulling the enemy team apart. Not only was he able to get 2 turrets, but he drew the entire Samsung Blue team away, and Cloud9 were able to take Baron. So this is how Cloud9 comes back, and it's by playing this 1-4. This just highlights how much they should have been doing it beforehand. They should have started this 1-4 a long time ago, around the 15, 16-minute mark, not the 22-minute mark. Keep drawing them apart. I think if Cloud9 would have done this, they probably could have taken this game a lot closer. But as we see, even in 5 to 17, it's only a 4K gold lead because they've been able to take dragons through good plays, even if those plays have got them killed. And they've just got a huge swing in 2 turrets and Baron. So, just reiterating, this is, like I said, this is kind of typical play of Cloud9. And there's an issue right here is High walks through the jungle where he has no vision. He really wasn't headed anywhere. He could have just ran down the safe path in the lane, gone to the base, wherever he was trying to go. It was just really silly of him to go there. But going back, we see Cloud9 always pulling out these strategic plays from behind when they should probably start them one ahead for once. Or even when they're even, look to their team composition and where it's strong. Their strength is that 1-4, and they just wait too long to pull it off. But when they do, it's a good success. It's something they could have been doing from an earlier standpoint, before this Zed was 1-7-1. So that's what Cloud9 could have done differently in this game. Move into, that stronger strength in the 4-man squad. You got to really remember when looking at the top, who's going to split push, yes, Maokai does have the teleport. But the issue here is that Maokai is so much stronger in the team fight than Zed is. So you want Zed to be the one split pushing. And to do so from an early point. So looking at item choices, I'm going to point out that Twitch does pick up a fairly early Quicksilver Sash, and this is very important. The Quicksilver Sash will allow Twitch to fight Zed on even footing, removes his death mark, gets rid of a massive amount of damage that Zed can do, and now Zed, all of a sudden, really doesn't have a target on Samsung Blue's team. He's going to be extremely weak in the team fights, not only because of exhaust, but because there's 2 Zhonya's and Quicksilver Sash to stop his damage. He's going to have to target Thresh or Kha'Zix if he really wants to use his potential. Otherwise, it's not going to be until Zed reaches 5 or 6 items where he can just kill people without his death mark going off. So this is another issue that Zed runs into. Also why I would much prefer a Syndra. So going from here, C9 don't have too many choices. Right now they're in a great position at this moment. They have this 3-man squad that's going to take this turret. They need to go pressure this top lane. And this is great. They are behind, so now they're going to go for a trade. Unfortunately for them, Twisted Fate has a lot of AP and gets that easy wave clear. Uses his ultimate to great effect for defense. It's a very strong play by Samsung Blue. Good by Cloud9 to get into this open area. Great by Samsung Blue to know how to defend against it. If Twisted Fate had been in the bot lane as well, it would have gone pretty even for Cloud9. They would have traded turrets, traded inhibitors if it went that far. It would have been very even push for push. But one thing Cloud9 can try and do right now, get into that bottom inhibitor. It's open. If they can take out this bottom inhibitor, especially at this moment in this sort of next minute or 2 window, then Baron will come up and they're going to have huge pressure on Baron with the bottom inhibitor giving pressure against Samsung Blue's team. This would require C9 to make some very sneaky play to try and get their entire team into the bottom lane and just rush the inhibitor, even if it's backdooring it. If they can rush and sneak it, this will be huge for them. Then they can get out. The biggest worry for that is going to be Twisted Fate Ultimate revealing them, and then Rumble Ultimate catching them out in the jungle. It's a risk worth taking, as Cloud9 are really have lost control of this game. So this is just a situation we see them running into. And if you watched this game before, we're going to see Super Zed Ninja in a little bit. And it's cool to watch. It's very neat. It's fun. It's not very effective. It almost could have been. But I think Zed is missing from the map too long when he ends up doing it. And that causes an issue. When you can't be seen for 3 or 4 waves, people start to wonder. So here we're going to see the start of it. If you want to watch it, he's going to wait every creep wave. He messes it up once. But there's an interesting thing about this whole situation that we find out after the game, after the matches, through admission of Samsung Blue, through Twitter and the internet, is by focusing on this, while it's great for the spectators, they want to see this sort of thing. It's really what, as a cameraman, you focus on. The crowd gets very loud every time C9, every time High makes it to a new bush. And while you can have noise-canceling headphones, when you have 10,000 people or more, the noise, the vibrations of the air, the feet hitting the ground, you can't block out the vibrations. And so Samsung Blue essentially admit that they could tell something was going on because of the noise that the the crowd is making. And here we see Zed pop out, and Samsung Blue were already kind of in the way, making their way back. They had an inkling. They weren't making any strong plays. They were trying to find out what was happening. And so Zed's super ninja play ends up not working. Very neat. It was fun to watch and a good try. But it did take too long. He was off the map for a very, very long time. Cloud9 do appropriately use the situation when they send them back. They try Baron, but they had already done this once before, so Samsung Blue were ready for it this time around. Round 2 of their strategic map rotations didn't quite work out. Would have probably preferred to have seen their whole team try and sneak in at a much quicker pace. So this is essentially the game. The nail in the coffin is for Cloud9 is here. They've lost their split push potential. Zed is going to lose out to Twitch. Potentially might lose to Twisted Fate in a fight, especially once he grabs his Lich Bane. And Samsung Blue are just so far ahead that they can't 5v5 fight. They can't use the power of Maokai and the Corki poke. Twitch is kind of scaled past or onto equal footing with Corki right now. Elise has fallen off as she doesn't scale very well in the game. We have the huge power of Rumble. And you just have solid pick potential too from Twisted Fate and Thresh. So everything's really working in Samsung Blue's favor at the moment. There's very little that Cloud9 can do. With Baron off the table, it's really just a simple situation. Samsung Blue just need to push mid and bottom lane, and then move into the base of C9. What this does mean is Cloud9 could take this information, knowing that Samsung Blue are going to want to push the bottom lane and mid lane, and rush top lane. They could go for a base race, and that would make things interesting. It could potentially work in their favor. They are going against Twisted Fate, who has a Lich Bane and a damaged Kha'Zix, but Rumble doesn't do very much to turrets. And neither does Thresh, whereas on Cloud9's side, we know Elise does a lot of damage to turrets. We have Zed, who does a lot of damage as well, and Corki. So it kind of is a fairly even fight on both sides. So if Cloud9 wanted to send their whole team up to the top lane and try to base race Samsung Blue, they could. So this is what would be forcing the other team to make a choice, and hoping that they make the wrong one. Because for you, there is no right choice. If you sit back and do nothing and allow Samsung Blue to just push into your base, you essentially lose because of this gold lead deficit, because of your composition sort of falling apart as scaling happens throughout the game. So if you just send everybody top, the right answer for Samsung Blue is, oh, okay, we're going to respond by sending everybody top. So that would be the right answer from Samsung Blue. But if they make the wrong answer and say, okay, we're just going to trade you objectives, now all of a sudden you've traded objectives. You've got more map pressure to work with. You've gone even footing with the other team. And best case scenario, you also base race and perhaps you win it. It's more likely that Samsung Blue would win the base race, but still, if you've already made the decision ahead of time, maybe you can get the positional advantage. You have those 5 members up top before Samsung Blue are in position on the bottom or in the middle. Or if they decide to split up, maybe they decide, oh, okay, we'll trade you, top inhibitor for mid and bottom. And then all of a sudden they come to find out that, wait, you're going straight for the base after the top inhibitor. So then you have a little bit of positional time advantage there. So that's an option for something to do at this point. Otherwise, you're just waiting for this slow, inevitable defeat, and that is what is going to happen to Cloud9, is the slow, inevitable defeat. Unless Samsung Blue make a huge mistake in a fight, then C9 should be going down. The one thing we do see that C9 is having in this situation is the poke coming out from Corki. When Cloud9 even leave base a little bit, Samsung Blue have pulled the trigger and go full force. Cloud9 really couldn't leave the base at all, and when you can't leave the base at all, it really essentially means you've lost. They could have kept up the defense, but like I said, it was an inevitable defeat unless they make moves. So that's this game. If you want to take away something from this game, I would really suggest you take away as always, using your team composition properly. Cloud9 does great with the strategic play, splitting up the team, especially when high is split pushing. But they didn't end up doing this until about 22-23 minutes. If they had sent Zed sooner, maybe even done it as quickly as the 14-minute mark, as soon as that bottom turret had gone down, then Corki could have been free to roam with Morgana, take turrets, have that solid 4-man squad while Zed draws attention. And this could have started it sooner, prevented a lot of the kills that went on to Cloud9, and just sort of stopped this Twisted Fate in its tracks a little bit. This was what Cloud9 needed to do to play to their composition. Also, please take away pick and ban phase. It was very important in this match, and Cloud9, while they're normally renowned for having great pick and ban phases, this one was not very good. They put too much priority on that Zed, lost out on the Kha'Zix pick, lost out on having full choices in top lane, lost out on counter picks, even though they still got one essentially in the mid lane. And they really lost a little bit of their compositional choices by picking up that Zed so early. Or instead it could have been a Syndra, which would have been a lot stronger, I believe. So that's this game. I hope it was informative and entertaining. I hope you got something from it. Once again, the notes for this match can be found below, as well as the link to all of my 2014 League of Legends World Championship video analysis and notes page. I'm Keith, aka LoLByTheNumbers, and thanks for watching.